Hey everybody, it's Pal, Conscientious Omnivore. Today's a special day. I'm celebrating my 2-year birthday. If you think that sounds kind of funny, what I mean by that is it's been 2 years since I've decided to become a vegan, or at least began that journey anyway. And it's really special, and I figured I'd share something special with you. I'm out on a nice run through the woods here, and going to take you to a really nice lookout point. It's probably about a 5K run from my home, and it's a beautiful place, so I'm going to show it to you guys as I go, and talk a little bit about what this anniversary means to me. So yeah, with that, it's a nice fire road that goes up into the mountains here. Some beautiful scenes all around. There's going to be some nice places you can look out over the nearby hills. So yeah, for now, just stick with me. Sorry for the bumpiness, and hope you enjoy it. Talk soon. All right, hit a nice hill here, so I figured it'd be a good time to stop for a breather and do a little story time. So, how does somebody like me, who at the age of 37 has been a meat eater all his life, and drinking a gallon of milk a week, or sorry, no, two gallons of milk a week. How do I go from that to being a vegan? How do I go from basically making fun of vegans to becoming a vegan? Well, it's an interesting story, and one that I think in large part is kind of fortuitous. I learned from my son. I'll tell you more about it in a bit. So there I was at the age of 37. My son at that time was a little over 3 years old, and it had been a year, and he had stopped eating meat. So right around the time he was 2, he just pretty much stopped eating meat altogether. And for the life of us, my wife and I could not get him to eat any kind of meat whatsoever, no matter how we tried tricking him, putting it into stuff, grinding it up, whatever. And at this time, I was pretty convinced that this was really unhealthy and dangerous for him, and I was really adamant that we need to get him to start eating meat. And I kept doing reading and research to see what kind of things I could do to try to get him to start eating meat again. So there I was in a bit of a dilemma. My wife and I were trying to do what's obviously best for our son, and wanted him to be healthy. So we were doing a lot of reading and studying, and being into running. I had already seen evidence that a lot of ultra runners, kind of swear by the vegan diet and say that it's healthy and all this kind of stuff. And I'd done a lot of reading, people like Scott Jurek and some other people, and slowly but surely I kind of started thinking like, well, maybe there is something to it. Maybe it can be as healthy. I never once thought that it could be healthier. I just kind of started from that assumption, like, okay, well, if it's just as good, and you can be healthy and you just have to kind of know what to eat, then that doesn't seem so bad. I can work around that. And then I kind of started doing more and more reading into it and research, and yeah, I just really distinctly remember that day 2 years ago. I ended up watching a video that was similar probably to things that many people have seen, but it was slightly different for me because it was kind of footage of animal cruelty in the agriculture industry. But it was a very specific thing that kind of triggered me into action. And for me, that difference was just seeing the kind of the mechanized horror and the planned out nature of how this abuse goes on. And that was actually really different for me because I'd seen a lot of these videos. People show you these things like PETA and whatever, animal abuse where the guy in the factory is just beating or kicking some poor animal, and obviously I think everybody reacts really strongly to that. It's horrible to see when somebody's just abusing an animal for no reason. They're usually kind of messed up in the head, obviously, to do that, and sadly I think those conditions that they work in kind of lead to that behavior. So it's a lot more common than people are willing to admit. But I always had the viewpoint that, like, well, okay, just because one crazy mentally ill person is doing something like that, that doesn't mean that the whole industry is like that. And that's the kind of reasoning that I always used in my mind to protect myself against the thought that I was contributing into something as horrific and cruel as the agriculture business. So anyway, the video I saw was actually just the ones where, I don't know if you've seen them, but in the egg industry, the male chicks, they don't lay eggs, obviously, so they're kind of useless to the egg laying industry. They use a different species of bird for the meat industry because they grow faster. And for the egg laying chickens, the male chicks are just killed, usually within that first day of life, maybe max a couple hours, something like that. But so they have different ways of killing them, obviously, and some of them are like suffocating them in bags. And the one that I happened to see was where they get macerated, and what that means is they just throw them alive into basically like a meat grinder and just grind them up. And it's horrible to see. And again, it's something that just was very different for me, because that wasn't just one crazy person who was taking out their stresses and their mental problems on some poor helpless animal. That is somebody or multiple people who have gone through and designed a system that basically grinds up baby chicks alive. And that just triggered this thing in me that, like, wow, that's not just one sick person. That's somebody who got paid to design this thing, and somebody else got paid to approve it, then somebody else got paid to build it, and then they put it in there, and they set about laws. Lawmakers approved, like, yeah, you can do this. This is humane or whatever, whatever the accepted agricultural practices are. And that's when I realized, like, yeah, this whole thing is sick. It's not just one person who's deranged and harming these animals like for kicks. This is like really serious stuff. And then you really start getting into all the other practices that you see, in the dairy industry. Even though most people don't think of that as the meat industry, but it's the same thing. Horrible things are happening there. They forcefully impregnate cows. They're basically raping cows. They're taking away their babies, like sometimes a couple hours after birth, usually within 1 to 2 days at the most. So when you start realizing that those kinds of abuses and terror that is going on in these animals' lives, that's not a deranged person. That's like a well thought out, well laid out, business practice. And that's when it twisted it in my mind from being like, okay, wow, this is really just not okay. And so this combination of like looking for things about the health aspects of it, and at the same time coming across these kinds of things that made me realize that there is like this horrific abuse happening, I decided to make some changes. So I thought, I'm gonna give this thing a shot, and I'm gonna try like 3 months and see if I can be a vegan for 3 months and see if it affects my health in any kind of detrimental way. And if not, then, who knows? Maybe this, has some merit to it, and I can work it out, and then, be aligned ethically to what I believe in, as well as, kind of making sure that I'm healthy and protecting the health of my family. So, at first I thought, I'll give it a shot and see what's going on. And long term, I was thinking like, at the very least, what I want to do is do some like backyard farming, kind of chickens and goats and what have you. I'm sorry, I'm fogging up the lens there, but oh no, that was a bug. Anyway, I was thinking like at the very least, I'll do some like goats or chickens and things like that, and see what I can do so that they're not being kept in any kind of cruel conditions. And I wasn't equipped at that time to be able to do anything remotely like that. So I thought, forget that. I'll just try the whole vegan thing full blast and see how I feel. And then, maybe later on I'll do that if, finances and life situation and what have you allow for that kind of thing. So yeah, I just remember that day I got home and I told my wife that, hey, I'm going to give it a shot and give it like 3 months and see how I feel and make sure that everything's okay. Yeah, so, that first 2 weeks or so, I thought, I was getting kind of adjusted. And those first 2 weeks were a little bit tough in one aspect only. It was milk. I craved milk. It wasn't like unbearable, but I definitely felt like, oh man, I could really drink a glass of milk right now. And that was the only thing I really missed. And after 2 weeks, that just totally disappeared. And I had no other cravings. And I really felt great. I mean, honestly, I didn't miss anything. I was definitely satiated when I ate. I was cooking lots of tasty foods and trying to, adjust recipes I already knew to make them vegan. So there's a lot of things you can do that just take things that you already know how to make and just veganize them. So I was trying to be really healthy. And even before that, I had already been trying to eat really healthy, eat lots of vegetables and fruits. But, I just felt pretty amazing. And after about 3 weeks, again, I had no cravings after second week. After the third week, I just felt so incredible. I told my wife, I was like, this is it. I'm done. I'm vegan now from now on. And, I just felt so incredible. And I thought, geez, why the heck would I go back to eating the cruelty and the death and destruction when I just feel this amazing? And, all the science that I had started reading and learning about shows that not only can you be as healthy, but that you can even be more healthy. And, again, in my mind, it was just a question of, I don't need to be healthier. I just need to be as healthy. But within even 3 weeks, I felt better and more healthy. And, I'll talk about that in a little bit more. So one of the things I noticed very quickly was that my recovery times were improving. And, after a hard workout, either at the gym, lifting weights, or running, I just found that I recovered a lot faster. Instead of it taking, 2-3 days for like soreness to go away after a heavy squat session, it was like, 2 days later I was fine. Sometimes even like a day later I was fine after a long run, when typically, my calves or something would have been sore for like days after. And I just started noticing, I was eating enough to not feel hungry. I was able to even eat late at night. Sometimes if I felt like it, didn't put on any weight. I lost a little bit of weight, although I've been fairly steady. So, that just goes to show you, it's not like you're going to wither away being a vegan. But anyway, I just started feeling a lot better and noticing that my performance was getting better. And that was really encouraging. One, other thing that over the course of that next couple months became apparent was that, I guess for guys especially, but really for both guys and girls, it can be important that I started noticing blood flow improving. Hopefully everybody figures out what I'm talking about here, but certainly never had complaints in that department prior, but definitely started getting some compliments, which was quite nice. So, that whole thing about atherosclerosis being, a disease of the heart with plaque getting, layered onto your blood vessels. Well, that doesn't just happen around your heart. It goes elsewhere too. So for guys especially, they say the, canary in the coal mine is the blood flow to the nether regions. So, seeing that as an improvement personally, that really validated what I had been learning and reading about, that the cardiovascular health was definitely improving as well. And that was very quickly. That was probably like a couple months after becoming a vegan. So after about a year of being vegan, I decided to go get my blood tested, make sure I was doing okay. And I was really curious about my cholesterol. And as it turns out, my LDL levels, those are the bad cholesterol, so-called, got cut in half. It was a little less than half of what it was originally. And my total cholesterol also dramatically improved. And, I was just really happy to see that and validate, that I had no problems. None of my figures showed any kind of problems with iron or any kind of protein levels. Everything was totally fine. My doctor was even kind of surprised as to why I was wanting to get my blood tested. She kind of laughed. She's like, your cholesterol wasn't high before either. Sadly, I don't think she knows about the fact that most doctors, what they assume is normal cholesterol is actually quite high. But anyway, that's a tale for another video. But so that was really awesome. My eyesight has improved, and I feel like I'm just getting younger and feeling better as time goes on. It's been 2 years now, and thriving. Just feel great, and that's part of why I'm sharing these videos. I want to share my experience and get people to give it a shot. I promise you, try it for a month. You will not feel bad. Stick to the whole food plants. Eat a variety of them. Eat lots of greens and all sorts of fruits and veggies, and you're going to be good, man. I promise. Give it a shot. And, worst comes to worst, nobody's going to die from a month of trying, a healthy diet. So give it a shot. Okay, so I just want to kind of summarize my thoughts here. I know it's been a little bit of rambling. I've been just doing it as we progress through the run here, but summary is that it's been 2 years. I think it's really been the best decision I've ever made in my life when it comes to my health and well-being, and I'm really convinced that healthy vegan, whole food, plant-based diet is really the way to go. It's going to prevent you from getting sick and help you reverse the leading causes of death that are out there, which is heart disease, and followed by stroke and cancer and a whole bunch of other nasty stuff that you don't want. So I think it's a win for everybody, for the animals especially, of course, but for yourself too. And it's nice to see in life when something lines up. I remember the TV show, The A-Team. Hannibal always used to say, I love it when a plan comes together. But if you think about it, it's better for you, for your health. It's better for the animals. It's better for the environment. Why on earth would you not do it? And, really, as I've said before, it's the taste. People just can't get over like, oh, I'm not going to eat barbecue anymore and ribs and whatever else they love, or their dairy or whatever. And the good news to that is that, as people get more and more creative, they're able to develop food products that can really replace those things. The taste, the texture is getting better and better. There's so many more vegan products to choose from now. It really is the difference of just choosing, one thing from one shelf versus one thing from another shelf. If you want sausages, you want bacon, you want whatever, just go and get the vegan version. It's like, you know what? People can tell me it's not as good. Personally, I'll be honest. I haven't had good vegan cheese yet. But luckily, I don't really care. But for some people, I know like cheese is like a really tough thing to do. Okay, but still, is it worth your health? Is it worth the cruelty and suffering that you're doing to the animals? Is it worth destroying the earth for? I think the answer to these is definitely no. So thanks for watching. Hope you stuck with me this far. And I just want to say thanks. And also say thanks to some people who earlier on in my life, when I was a lot younger, gave me lots of good information about vegetarianism, veganism, and I actually chose to ignore that, and even made fun of people. And I don't even want to say sorry for that, but thank you for sharing that with me, because those seeds were probably planted a long, long time ago from my friends and coworkers, and those had a chance to kind of sit there in my mind and maybe grow out. It took too damn long as far as I'm concerned, but still better at 37 to wake up than to not wake up at all. And I'm trying to do the best I can now with spreading the good news of veganism and eating a healthy plant-based diet. So give it a shot, and thanks for sticking with me. If if you're watching this and you're thinking, man, this is a load of crap, I don't know what this guy's going on and on about, just stick it in the back of your mind and think about it. Give it a shot. Like, try it. Don't knock it before you try it. And I think you never know when that might work. And for somebody who's watching this who already is a vegan and thinking, yeah, I'm preaching to the choir here, try to keep this in mind when you're talking to other people about veganism. It takes a long time for some people to change their minds. I'm really stubborn. My head is real thick. It took me a long, long time to get this. So just stick with it. Talk to people with patience and kindness. And I think, again, my channel is called Conscientious Omnivore. Be conscientious with everybody you deal with, not just towards what you choose to eat, but the people that you choose to talk to, and what you say to them. So thanks again. I'm going to go up to the top of the hill here. I'm going to show you around. That's my special place. I love coming out here to think and be in nature and be quiet. And yeah, I love the view. I'm going to show it to you. All right, so here we are, top of the hill or mountain or whatever you call it here. We don't have very high hills in Hungary, so you gotta make do with what you find. And yeah, this is like one of the nicer little peaks that I have close to home here. It's only about a 5K run from my home out to here, and there's just a beautiful view. Yeah, not sure how much of that is coming through the video, but I hope it's all right. I hope you enjoy it. Just wanted to say, this is a nice, special place. I love coming out here, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And yeah, I guess anybody who's watching, I'm curious if you remember your kind of pivotal vegan moment. When did your blinders come off? When did you have your big revelation and kind of see the truth for what it is? Just curious. Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to hear your story. Again, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.